My background in the real estate industry is pretty varied. I came through the residential property management and sales sectors. I moved into the commercial property management and sales and leasing sectors. I then did a pretty big stint with what we call corporate real estate, working for the Smorgon family and a company called Toll Holdings. Those two are more than 15 years. And I founded a company called Little Projects, and then founded a new company recently called CostaFox. And I've built more than probably 2,000 apartments and 3 or 4 office buildings, some retail complexes and bits and pieces along the way. So I've a pretty big background. Well, I'm pretty tapped into the market. I'm lucky that I've got a very good bunch of mates out there who are all in the development space, and we're in constant contact about what's going on, who's selling what, and I think just general knowledge as well. But largely I'd say because of my network, I'm pretty tapped into who's doing what, who's selling what's selling, apartments, whether it's the apartment space, whether it's commercial space, all sectors. Given that I've been in the industry for over 30 years, I'm pretty well tapped into what's going on, generally speaking. Well, a lot of it comes from your own intuition. There was a time when we were selling what I'd say more cookie cutter type apartments and so forth, and then there was a time when I think we led the market into the bigger space, and we started doing bigger apartments with a project in Manly, which was successful, or very successful. So a lot of it's intuition, a lot of it's knowing what's going on. A lot of it's dictated at the moment, I suppose, by immigration, by tenants out there, trying to work out what's going on next, whether it's an owner-occupier market, whether it's a tenant buying market. There's been government first home buyer strategies and so forth. So it's a matter of just staying ahead of the game. Yeah, the off-the-plan sector, I think, will have some challenges, but surprisingly, it's been reasonably buoyant. Given I'm tapped into the market with a lot of other developers, I'm surprised at the level of pre-sales still going ahead out there at the moment. I think that there's actually a limited number of projects, and I think those that are clever enough to get their projects to market once we come through this current climate will probably be reasonably successful. I see there's not a lot actually out there at the moment. There's not a lot of buyer choice. We need to get through the current immigration issues, where there's been quite a big downturn in that sector, and the current tenant market is also taking a bit of a hit with unemployment, pubs and clubs and the retail sector sort of been shut down. So the tenants are always the next buyers, but I think as we come through this, there'll be people looking for opportunities. There's not a hell of a lot of projects out there at the moment, and I think those developers that are got a good offering in good locations will go pretty well. I suppose as a business, CostaFox is we've managed through whether it's luck or fortune to be pretty shielded from the current situation. We're building an office building in Cremorne. That's under construction and it'll probably take another 18 months to finish. So that's sort of not a worry. We've got another big project in planning, but again, we're allowing the planning phase for our property development down at the Tea House in South Bank. That we think that'll be 2 years in planning, so we're not rushing or worried about that at the moment. And our residential projects, we've got one in Fisherman's Bend, which we're sort of still waiting for government to make some announcements down there, but we've got a potential big project down there. And we've got another big one planned in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne, details to be revealed at a later date. But we're sort of looking for as many projects as we have to be ready in 12 months to 24 months. I think that's going to be a bit of a sweet spot where we will go into a big undersupply. So we're looking for as many projects as we can to have on our books within the next 2 years. Well, I think at the moment the listings are down from a residential point of view somewhere between 25 and 30%. I've not seen the commercial statistics, but the commercial listings and industrial listings have got to be down way below that. I've never seen it so quiet at the moment. So we're readying ourselves for buying opportunities. We think that they'll come, particularly probably out of the retail sector. The hotel market has had a complete hit and is probably going to be out of action for probably 4 or 5 years. The office vacancy space before the current downturn was very low, and I'm aware of a few projects that have been pulled. So I still think that the commercial sector will recover reasonably quickly. I think a lot of people working from home will be keen to probably get back into an office and have a normal environment. I think people like myself who are a little bit older have struggled with the working from home bit. But I think at the moment, I've never seen such low listing numbers in the commercial sector, and we hope that comes back and there'll be some opportunities for us. So we'll be looking for as many opportunities as we can. My gut feel is it's probably going to be 2 to 4 months before we start seeing some of those opportunities come through. Look, I think the off-the-plan market has always been good. I think there's going to be some reasonable offerings coming up. There's also not a lot of projects on the market, so I think those that are ready to act will probably get some reasonably good deals. I think developers will be keen to cut deals to get projects going. So my advice would be to jump in, get going with it, make the commitment. There's as I sort of said before, there's not a lot of listings around at the moment. There's not a lot of projects. So once things start to turn, I think that the buyers will return. So those that are quick to get off the mark will probably do themselves reasonably good deals. I think the advice to buyers off the plan is to suss out the developer that you're dealing with. The ones that have been around for a long time, who deliver a good product, they're sound. If they've come through the current cycle and the current downturn strongly, then I think that they're the ones that I would probably head to. People with good names, good reputations. Some of these developers are here for the long haul. They don't build rubbish. So I would think that I'd be heading to developers that have been around and have got a track record. So some of the changes that we'll be making to our developments, I think it's been quite interesting over the past month or so. There's the amount of deliveries that are coming into apartment buildings. I think we need almost 2 entrances, one for residents and one for drivers, couriers, pickups. We need drop-off places inside buildings. There's a few little tweaks that we'll be making to the developments that we've noticed, as time goes on. Well, I think like everybody else, we've embraced Microsoft Teams. We've embraced Zoom. All of our meetings are via those mediums at the moment. They've actually been quite good. I've got to say they're probably a bit of a godsend, but I think the face-to-face is still better. The problem with the technological changes that we all face is that there's no banter before the meeting and there's no banter after the meeting. So the meetings just like they come and they go. Whereas normally there's always a bit of banter before and after. I think that's probably the thing that we all we miss, and that face-to-face contact. So can't wait to get back to having meetings with everybody face-to-face. Look, I think that this phase will probably pass and that we'll go back to a pretty normal lifestyle in the not too distant future. At the moment, display suites are limited, inspections are limited. It's probably the biggest issue for the real estate industry is that there's been no auctions on site. There's been no big open for inspections, those sorts of things, no competition. But I think that once we come through this, that we should go back to a really normalised market. People will always probably be a bit more wary, but I expect things to resume. You can see things resuming out there at the moment, albeit within guidelines. But I expect that we'll see a pretty strong market moving forward. Yeah, the foreign investment question is an interesting one. So there's a few schools of thought. One is, a lot of the foreign students have gone home. They're our renters, so vacancy rates will or are increasing because of that, and because of the Airbnbs and all those sorts of things being put back on the market, because there's no market for that at the moment. Immigration, I think, is going to be limited, so we won't see the big numbers that we've been seeing, particularly in Victoria, over the next year or two. And those foreigners have always been the buyers, they've always been the tenants. So we're probably back to more a localised, owner-occupier and investor type market. But on the other side, on the flip side, you think that there'll be people queuing up, out of China and some of our foreign markets to actually get here. They'll see Australia as a great place and a great destination, and it's a matter of when we can open those borders and open that investment back up to those buyers. I think they'll be here in their droves. Look, our strategy at the moment is to try and pick up as many sites as we can and be ready for a bit of a boom in this market within the next 12 to 24 months. We don't have any strategies or anything like that at the moment to try and attract buyers, because we're busy in the commercial sector, but we're planning a pretty big return to the residential sector. Look, I don't know that the whole industry will change that much. I think it'll go back to normal in the not too distant future. I think that the government have got quite a bit of stimulus out there at the moment. I met with the head of the task force the other day, this new planning task force. There's a clear mandate to get projects that are shovel-ready going. So I see that the government are making a pretty big effort. I think we've got to get VCAT back open, get some more projects at the smaller level through. At the higher level, I think that there'll be a lot of project stimulus, one from government and two from just trying to fast track some planning permits to get things going. So I expect that the whole sector to have a pretty big injection. It might take a little while to get it all moving, but we've got to, once the current round of projects that are out there being built are finished, we need to replace them pretty quickly, and I can see that everybody's working pretty hard to make that happen. In our current developments, particularly the commercial sector, there has been a bit of a change, probably a bit more of a move towards what was happening in the resi sector. So our new office building in Cremorne has amazing end-of-trip facilities, showers, change rooms, all those sorts of things, and then some great landscape spaces. So on the roof we have these massive rooftop gardens which are zoned for meetings and communal type events and so forth. Space that hasn't really been created, but in the resi, what we used to do in the residential sector was, create these great communal spaces. We're now creating those inside the commercial sector. So some buildings will be left behind. They won't offer these types of facilities to tenants, and the tenants will be heading towards buildings that have, great end-of-trip facilities, rooftop spaces, communal spaces. Friday afternoon, workspaces in beautiful, lush landscape gardens and so forth. So we're trying to make some changes in the commercial sector. We've learnt that from the resi sector, and we're pushing those through. From an investment point of view, I think that there'll be some great buying opportunities coming up over the next 6 to 12 months. The current market has taken, a bit of a battering. There's a lot of tenants out there on rental deals. I'm acutely aware of some of those through myself and others. So I think there's some good opportunities out there, but I also think just because of the lack of stock that's on the market, that there's still going to be some sort of competition for investments and so forth. So I would say to everybody, don't be too cute, don't wait too long. The time to get in is probably in the not too distant future.